Good morning, candidates. What is prompt corrective action and what are the parameters of PCA used by RBI? Prompt corrective action is a framework of corrective measures used by Reserve Bank of India to ensure safety and soundness of commercial banks operating in India. PCA is aimed at identifying and taking corrective action against banks that show signs of financial weakness or distress. The PCA framework is based on three parameters. Number one, capital adequacy ratio. The CAR is a measure of bank's capital to its risk-weighted assets. If a bank's CAR falls below the minimum regulatory requirement, I think it is now, it will trigger PCA framework. The minimum regulatory requirement for CAR is 9% for banks in India. Net non-performing asset ratio, NPA ratio is the ratio of banks' non-performing assets to its total assets. If a bank's NPA ratio crosses certain thresholds, it will trigger the PCA framework. The thresholds for NPA ratios are 10% for banks with assets of over 2,000 crore, 15% for banks with assets of 1,000 crore to 2,000 crore, 20% for banks with assets of less than 1,000 crore. Return on assets ratio, assets. Return on assets is a measure of bank's profitability. If a bank's return on asset falls below certain threshold, it will trigger the PCA framework. The threshold for ROA is negative for 2 consecutive years. Based on the severity of a bank's financial weakness or distress, the bank RBI can take various measures under PCA framework such as restricting dividend payments, restricting expansion of branch network, restricting lending activities, requiring the bank to maintain higher provisions and capital, imposing moratorium on the bank. The ultimate objective of PCA, prompt corrective action, is to ensure that banks operate in a safe and sound manner and do not pose a systemic risk to the financial system. Central Bank of India, Indian Overseas Bank, Bank of Maharashtra, what else? What are the other banks? They were in prompt corrective action. Now they have been taken out of the Bank of India also. They have been taken out of this prompt corrective action. If there are any other bank, if any other bank was in PCA, please put it in comment column. Thank you.